Hey folks, how's it going? What is going on? Here I am, Jeff S, aka True Knowledge, with yet another interesting, unique camera angle going on for the start of the show. I like to change things up. Maybe next week I'll try one where the back of my head is like the shot. You know what I mean? Or my ass. Like I'll bend over. You know what I mean? Like I'll bend over for She-Hulk. But anyways, folks. Now that I'm starting to get past the trauma that was She-Hulk, the She-Hulk Disney Plus series. We're just joking, She-Hulk. We love you. I luckily Cybernetic Shark, my co-host / psychotherapist, has been helping me get through the deep PTSD and trauma I suffered by when I saw the 47-year-old virgin living in the basement with his parents' version of Scar there in the finale. Man, it was rough. It fucked me up. So it took me a minute, but like many of you folks out there know, you know what I mean. Believe me, you experienced the same thing, I'm sure, on some level. But thank God we do have shit like the Rings of Power here to do episode 7 to review and whatnot and everything, and take us back to the real world instead of like the multiverse of madness type shit. The shithouse type crap. So either way, welcome to the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channel and podcast. Welcome to all the platforms that we're on right now live. I'm sorry to all of you on Facebook that sadly potentially won't end up watching us unless you catch us like on video or whatever. We're only on one. We're on the Minds Creativity Network Facebook page. That's it on Facebook. For some reason, StreamYard cannot figure out how to get us back on Facebook. So we're working on it. We're fighting diligently with our legal team, with StreamYard, to work this shit out. I swear, we're very passionate about this stuff. Cybernetic Shark, my brother, are you ready to rock and roll and review the second to last episode of The Rings of Power?
Oh, yes, sir. We are here. Going to be talking about the episode called The Eye. Yeah, episode 7 of the Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power.
Good title.
It is a good title. I feel it is a loosely kind of, I think, a reference to a great character that we're very well aware of that was in the original films. That is the big baddie. I believe the Eye is referring to him, Sauron. I believe, and that's what I kind of get out of this episode too. Is I feel that there's a little bit. It's kind of a prelude to the great Sauron. So
it's like an encroachment. It's like an encroachment. They're kind of like in one way they're reeling from the volcano explosion and whatnot, and we see right from the jump how devastating that ended up being, right? Mm-hmm. At that point, I mean, there's Sauron's not even there physically yet, right? And just the fact that they got their asses kicked so bad, then you throw in the fact that fucking Sauron is out there too coming at some point. Like, they're like, fuck, this is rough. Like, we're not in a good spot here.
Most definitely.
Yeah, no, but you know what? That's very interesting, Cyber, that you mentioned that with the Eye, that connection, because until I started to flush it out in my head and then you connected it, I didn't think about the fact that in the Lord of the Rings, the Eye of Sauron was so poignant, right? I mean, because that was that was the only manifestation we got of him, right? Yep. Throughout the movies, really. Mm-hmm. He had no physical form.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, just imagine him with physical form like we're going to get in the freaking series, man.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I believe, if I'm correct, I've heard people say that we do get to see him in the final episode of this series. Gives us kind of like a look at him as a human, as his original form before he becomes all powerful. And, kind of like what we should expect to see of him in the next season. But yeah, this episode was quite interesting. I thought there was a lot of lows and, a lot of highs in this episode. I thought there was definitely a lot of information they packed all into one episode. So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about in this episode that I think honestly, I think this was probably one of the most packed episodes. They really wanted to pack it in right at the end so that, we go in, when we get to the finale, we're going to be jonesing for the second season.
Well,
So
basically,
go ahead.
To say that, no, the second thing I wrote down as I was taking my notes for my outline, the second thing I mentioned after I described that initial scene was that we get basically the whole array of elements of the series put back into play, almost like, within the first third of the episode, right? We get all of it basically, all of the dynamics are there, like, brought to the to the forefront again, with the exception of essentially they don't really delve into any of the the Arendeer Bronwyn dynamic. You know what I mean? Like, but that's fine though. I mean, they gave them a whole episode, right? In episode 6, essentially, so I mean, what's fair is fair. Right? There's only so much screen time, there's only so much you could, to work with in terms of how much you can flush out with these characters. But yeah, you're right. I think that they structured things to where they saw this as a bridge episode, right? Where they could then, after they kind of did some isolating in the last couple episodes and focus on some specific dynamics, now they're broadening things back up, right, to the whole spectrum, right, of the different like things that they've thrown at us in the beginning of the series in a way. So it's interesting. It is.
Very much so. Very much so.
So
yeah, that takes us actually right into the episode. Really, I mean, it starts right off, right at how the last episode ended, showing this basically the city being thrown into flames, and basically everything is turned into ash now, and it basically shows Galadriel getting up and the other survivors getting up out of the ashes. We get that poignant scene there and shows them kind of trying to escape out of there, and basically we get that interesting kind of intro to this episode where it shows basically what happened. Like, pretty much the whole city was burned to the crisp, and you see what the survivors are trying to do. And so
those locker room jokes, baby. I love it.
And so basically, yeah, we see a few of the survivors. They try to get out of there. Unfortunately, a couple of survivors we see unfortunately get collapsed inside what was left of a building onto them at that point. Basically where it ends up killing them, while the others are able to kind of get out of there as soon as they could, without being killed, basically. And then, it basically hops and we finally get more of the Hartfoots finally. And we finally get to see the Hartfoots. We didn't see them for a whole episode. We really didn't get much in the last episode, but this episode, definitely we got a lot more of it. And I thought that it was interesting how they got right into it, showing where they kind of left off. Because the last time we saw them, basically the one Hartfoot, she was scared of the star guy, basically, kind of after he healed himself with the ice and stuff like that, and it kind of left it at that. We didn't really know what happened, but basically that's where it kind of leaves off. They're traveling to get back to their encampment. It has burned all down, which is really sad. And basically the one older Hartfoot, asked, hey, let's ask the guy, the stranger, to see if he can fix, the land. And so he ends up going up and asking him, and he comes back down, and he basically hits on the tree, and he's like, doing his power thing and stuff like that. And basically all of a sudden makes a part of the tree branch fall down almost onto one of the other little Hartfoots. The other Hartfoot, Nori, goes and saves her. And, they all kind of like, oh, he's evil, he's going to kill us all, type of deal. And, basically they kind of look at him like he's crazy. And you kind of get a feeling, oh, they're kind of scared of them. That's how it kind of leaves it. And so before we move on past that, what were your initial thoughts on how it started off, Jeff? Like, were you surprised to see that there were survivors from the blast at the end of the last episode? What did you think of that building collapsing on a few of the survivors right off the get-go? And what were your thoughts on, reintroduction to the Hartfoots and the stranger basically trying to use his powers?
Well, I thought that the initial scene was very, at least visually, unique to the series. Like, it really added that interesting element to start the show. The color scheme they used, right? That heavy orange, almost like almost blood type, hue. You know what I mean? That everything had afterwards, which I still don't even completely understand why that even was going on or occurred. I don't grasp exactly, I don't know if that had to do with the eruption of the volcano or something, or if essentially like everything around them was on fire still or some shit. I really didn't totally grasp that. But either way, it looked visually very, very interesting. Not stunning or epic, but different. It really set a interesting tone for the episode because of the fact that there was no dialogue. There was basically no audible sound, right? And just like almost like a buzzing. And essentially you kind of view everything through Galadriel's eyes, Now and then the image of the burning horse on fire was really cool. That was really dope. Like seriously, I mean, again, I guess that honestly, it must be the Disney Plus, like the Disney vacation factor or something, because like I'm almost just like blown away at times that like when I watch TV shows sometimes now at like anything that's like intense or like graphic or what I'm saying, like I mean I'm kind of like I'm poking fun, but I don't know what to expect from Rings of Power at times, right? After the first 4 or 5 episodes, or 4 episodes or so, I wasn't sure what we are going to get, right? How things were going to go in terms of that kind of stuff. So now that they are displaying it now, finally, right? They're giving us bits and pieces of some actual darker material that's necessary, right? It has to happen because there's conflict, right? Like that's the root of the entire series, that there is a conflict, right? Mm-hmm. Just like in Lord of the Rings, there was a massive conflict, between good and evil being fought, right? Not just between Sauron and the dark forces and the races that are all essentially of good, right? That are of like somewhat ethical means or cores that don't want darkness, and want light, right? As they very, very clearly, just like in Lord of the Rings, used and displayed multiple times in the episodes, that contrast of light, the sun and darkness, light and dark, right? They've gone back and forth with that whole dynamic a lot, just like Tolkien, which I think was cool, right? That was an interesting way that they were able to bring Tolkien in. You know what I mean? Like, even though they really couldn't touch his shit that much, with how they worked things out with the Tolkien estate, with the family and the kids and everything, they still were able to still use some of his like almost ethos or some of his like his tropes, right, that were central in the books and in the movies. And one of them is that light and darkness thing, which is something that I think probably is not copyrightable, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it's just you know what I mean, right? It's a natural dynamic. So basically, what's been interesting in the series is how they're also flushing out this battle between good and evil with the individual characters of the series, right? Throughout their own relationships, right? With their family members, with their people, you know what I mean? With their kinsfolk, right? They're all almost in almost every relationship and every dynamic that's going on in the series. there is some sort of struggle or conflict, either whether it be internally or with another person or in some way, it's reflecting that good versus evil, light versus darkness, right? Conflict, or dynamic, right? So it really is very deep and philosophical when you think about it. Right. So as far as the opening goes, very cool looking, well shot. Visually very interesting. Very different, cool looking, fun. Really displayed a sense of confusion, right? Disruption, like things being very much like screwed up, like nobody knew what the hell was going on, like what just happened. You know what I mean? Like, it starts off legitimately, I think, like instantly right after the end of episode 6 is where we basically what we see, so, I think that it was interesting seeing the color schemes and that whole how cool that whole opening shot was. And I felt like the Harfoots, again, they bring a lightness to the series. They do. I do honestly love Nori and Poppy. I do. I think it was Poppy that sang the song back in episode 5, or was that Nori?
I don't remember.
Either way, it was great. The song was good. I liked it. I dug the song with the map and everything and whatnot as they were traveling. That was cool. I like that. That whoever that kid or whatever teenager or young adult or whatever has a really good voice. But the Harfoot deal doesn't really get me all that psyched up. I mean, it's it's very slow going their sort of deal. But again, it's cool. And the whole as far as the stranger goes, um, I'm still sort of trying to flush out, I guess, what the hell's going on with him. I mean, what is his deal? Like, I mean, you get where I'm coming from. It's just, sort of, I guess, we know he's not evil, but I mean, what's wrong with him? Like, what happened to him or whatever and whatnot, and why can't he like bring his memory back at all, or why does he not know who he is and all that and whatnot? I would have thought by now he would have at least like regained himself in some way, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's basically I say would be the gist of it. I mean, of course, like I'm looking forward to talking about the dwarf elf scenes and whatnot and everything, right? But I think that the Harfoot stuff is pretty lighthearted, but the family itself, the Brandyfoots or whatever, are like very, very cool and like very cute.
Nice, thank you. Excellent. So, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying with the stranger. I get it. And, like, that's what I keep thinking to myself, that this is supposed to be Gandalf. And as they're saying, he is supposed to be, because he says a certain word that Gandalf only says.
Yep.
Why is he not know who he is? Why is he like this? Why would you like, and why is he, he's supposedly supposed to be like 2,000 or 3,000 years old. That's what, if you look it up, you can see how old he is. He's supposedly around 2,000 to 3,000 years old. So, I mean, if he's already been around for 1,000 years, because that's what he was, the one Hartfoot guy was saying to him before he gave him the map. This is, about a constellation that's like 1,000 years old. So it's like, why would Gandalf not know who he is and all this stuff? So yeah, I get where you're coming from there, because I that just confused me, why I keep thinking he's not Gandalf. And I just think it just doesn't make sense to me, unless somewhere in the other writings that Tolkien did, he explains all this crap, but I don't recall hearing about that ever.
No, not only that, Cyber, but if he's been around that long, besides the fact that he's only been with the Harfoots, how have no other characters come across him and been like, oh shit, Gandalf, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Like, hey, what's going on, right? You would think that like some of the other essential characters would know Gandalf.
Yeah, exactly. Most definitely. 100%.
But hey, you know what though? I didn't think about this, but what if this is actually what actually started his love for hobbits?
Possibly. Could be. Most definitely. I agree. That could be.
That's interesting, isn't it? I never thought about that until now. I mean, maybe this is what inspired him.
It's kind of interesting. I don't feel it's very essential for really detailing who Gandalf is, but yeah, I definitely see there is some interest to that. That would make sense why he has that fondness for hobbits down in the actual Lord of the Ring films, Lord of the Ring books, and so forth. So that would make sense, most definitely.
And it's deep too, because you got to think about it. In Lord of the Rings, when they have the council, with with Elrond, right? None of the other fucking people even know what these hobbits are, or like what they're even about, or whatever and whatnot. They think they're like a joke, like children, right? Only Gandalf recognizes the strength and the courage, you know what I'm saying, and the capability of the hobbits, what they can do, right? Like, what they do have working for them. Right. And in a way, right, like he sort of really puts all his faith in the hobbits. He does. He puts all of his faith legitimately, like everything, right, on the shoulders of Frodo and Sam. And I mean, at that point, to have that type of like trust and confidence like that, to where you're willing to give your life, it would make sense in a way, I guess. If like this, whatever process he's going through right now with the Harfoots, possibly is how he built and started having that understanding and belief system towards like the hobbits.
Very true. Very true. Totally could be. Totally could. All right. So moving on from the scene where basically the main Harfoot there, the older Harfoot, takes the gives the stranger the map and lets him go off because they're afraid of him because of what happened with the tree. That's when it goes back to Gadriel and Browin's son. What's his name? Do you remember his name?
Theo.
Yeah, thank you. Theo. Theo and Gadriel, they are still walking through the forest after getting away from the the explosion. And basically he starts like saying, oh, they're like kind of hiding out and they're saying, I'm going to go kill him. And she kind of like stops him and is like, hey, no, you don't want to do that. Like holding him kind of down, that it's not going to help. We're outmatched and all this kind of good stuff. We don't have any backup or anything like that. Let's, just stay here hidden and watch what's going on, because they see the orcs and stuff like that and over on the other side of the thing there. And so she's like, there's a darkness that'll approach you there, so you got to be careful. And so then after they have that little conversation, that's when it bounces again. And that's when we see Elrond for the first time again in a while. Elrond is speaking with Durin's father, the king, about getting, the supposed this rock that they have unearthed to help out with the elves over in their land, to basically keep them from perishing. And they basically have a discussion saying, you don't have to trust me, as an elf, but I do say that there is a good reason why I'm asking for your help and all this kind of stuff with this, and that you need to, it'd be great if you will, because my other elves are on the line here. Their lives are, basically will perish and not exist anymore without the help. And, basically, the king listens and then he says, let me talk to my son. And after the others leave, Elrond and the other dwarves that were there leave, Durin and his father have kind of a conversation, and basically leads to the father saying no. And it's, because of tradition and all this kind of stuff. And Durin's kind of like, well, father, but this and that, a little bit. And the father, basically says about tradition more, a little bit like that. And so Durin kind of just leaves it at that, goes back to his wife. They have a little bit of a conversation. She calls the king, I forget what she calls it, but it was pretty funny, like a fool and stuff like that. And, basically they're saying like, what could I do? And then he's like, what Doran's kind of like, oh, what example would I be for my kids if I didn't, follow this tradition and all this kind of stuff. And they kind of come to like an agreement a little bit there. And then as they're standing there, that's when Elrond comes back in. And, he looks up and Durin kind of gives a look and, Elrond gets it. And he's like, oh, can I get you to stay for dinner? He's like, no, I got to tell the king about the outcome. And, he's like, is this goodbye? It's like, it's never a goodbye. It's farewell, and he leaves and goes out the door. Elrond does. And before he leaves, he gave back the piece of ore. And after that, Durin kind of goes over and sits down a little bit for a second, kind of starts to cry, throws the piece of ore down by the leaf, and then all of a sudden the leaf right by the ore all of a sudden comes back to life. And they're like, and he's like, Elrond, and then it goes back to Gadriel and Theo once again, kind of going through the woods, and they're basically, she's kind of explaining things and how you can't let that evil take over you. She explains more about that, kind of like how when you kill so many orcs and this and that, and I knew orcs before they existed and all this kind of stuff. And they kind of have that little conversation, kind of enlightening Theo on things and how to be better than she is. And eventually she gives her sword to him at that crossroad there. So before we go any further there, so there was a lot of cool stuff in that. What was your thoughts on that conversation between the king and Elrond? What were you thinking of that whole situation? Do you think that the king was going to say yes? Do you think that the king was wrong? Do you think you understood and he was correct? What did you think about kind of that first scene we saw with Theo and Gadriel kind of talking while they're hiding from the orcs, and kind of, that whole conversation with Elrond and Durin? What were your thoughts on all that little section there?
Well, at one point, instead of like giving him a sword and whatnot, I thought maybe she was going to give him a blowjob, like his first blowjob, to kind of like breeze his spirits. You know what I mean? Because he was so sad and whatnot and everything. Like, I thought maybe that Galadriel would just kick him, a quick, quick head job, real quick, but, I guess she wasn't feeling it at that time and whatnot, but either way, no, I thought that, I thought it was an interesting decision to all of a sudden throw Theo and her together for some kind of poignant conversation, for one thing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, how the fuck did she even know what his name was? You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, that's what I was thinking to myself. I was like, how does she even know his name is Theo? Like, she never even met him until now. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, what the fuck is she like? Is she Miss Cleo's cousin? Like, you know what I'm saying? What happened? You know what I mean? Like, no, I'm joking, but I don't know why they're trying to inject Theo into like all this serious shit. I don't really get it, to be completely honest with you. But it's okay. I'm just saying, like, I mean, it's just, to me, like, kind of forced, right? You know what I mean? Like, making him this pivotal, well, not pivotal character, but having him have this intense strife and struggle he's having, right? With the dark and the light and everything and all that. I would have rather seen that played out with maybe a different character or something, right? Somebody more mature, older, maybe, or something, right? I don't know. But I mean, the Galadriel scene with Theo and everything and whatnot, the orcs looking for them and whatnot and everything, was just kind of like a part of the structure of the episode. I felt like it didn't really draw much attention from me or do much for me. The dynamic, the first of all, I do find King Durin solid as a character. I do, and I think the actor does a good job with him. I do. He's balanced. He's not just an asshole, right? Like, he actually does occasionally say things that are logical, right, and like make sense. You know what I mean? And he portrays at times also that he does have emotions. He's not a complete dick, right? Like, he actually does care about other people and whatnot and everything. He doesn't just think of himself. He's not selfish, right? Like, that's not his deal. He's not like he's not like some of the dwarves have getting sometimes, like in the Hobbit films, where they get that like that crazy like sickness or like craziness where they get over gold and like treasures and shit and whatnot. They get obsessed and they get all nuts and all that. He's not like that. If anything, I think he's just like a traditionalist. Like he's very much like a big believer in history and for his forefathers, and amongst the dwarves and whatnot, right? He cares about his people, and at the same time, he also is a racist, right? Like he doesn't like elves, flat out. He does not like them, for whatever reason, whether it just be familial passing down of it or whatever type stuff. I don't know, probably. Maybe that's all it is, but he has that dwarven, sort of like racism towards elves, which we saw in Lord of the Rings. It's a part of the universe. The dwarves and the elves are not exactly best buddies out of the different races, right? Like they have the most disdain for each other out of all of them. So like they, if anything, in Lord of the Rings, by then, like things are bitter between them, So at that point, I felt like Elrond and the actor that played Elrond was amazing when he parlayed and tried to, talk and negotiate with King Durin and whatnot. He sounded very elegant and human and selfless, right? And and ethical, and like respectful. You know what I mean? Like he's as a character, he at times is almost like awesome, right? Like some of the things he says, and the way he carries himself, right? And the way that he sort of off the cuff, like navigates conversations and whatnot, right? In like a strategic way that's not like unethical or trying to play games. It's positive, right? Like it's well intentioned, you know? You know what I mean? Like it just also like suits his interests too. You know what I mean? So, but no, I felt like Elrond is a pure character, right? That has a good heart, and that's why he has such a good friendship with Durin. And I felt like I don't know the factuality or how dangerous it would be to actually go and mine the mithril. I don't know how much it would endanger dwarves if they did it. I don't know how that like plays out, right? But if that's like a legitimate thing, then hey, I mean, you can't blame like King Durin for being like, you know what? I don't want like the dwarves dying, mining like deep into these mountains and whatnot and everything to find this mithril to save the elves of all freaking people, right? So, at that point, I mean, if he was doing it for dwarves, he probably would do it, but for elves, hell no, you know. But we'll see what happens. I think that over time his son is going to get to him and and maybe you teach him some some things, the old dog, some new tricks in terms of how things need to be with the dwarves, right? That there needs to be some changes. So it was a very, very profound scene. It was very impactful and serious. It had a lot of gravity to it. And it was very well done, and when he said that he had to talk to Durin, right? I knew right there he was going to say no, but and I'll leave it there. Obviously, I'll hold my tongue as far as like what happens next and all that.
Well, thank you there, sir. So, do you feel with I know you said you weren't sure why they're interjecting Theo with Gadriel, besides the the blow job or hand job. Did you think that that was a good kind of life lesson that she gave him in that scene where they're walking and she's kind of explaining about how things kind of work and how killing and how that it like evolves. Do you think that could be applied to even real life today at
Yeah.
any point?
What I like is the contrast they've displayed with the different characters trying to like guide Theo, right? Arendir, you know what I mean? Let's try to like talk to him and whatnot, and like giving him some very powerful words, right? Bronwyn, right? One of the strongest characters in the series, if anything, right? My without question, I'm gonna end up nominating her as my I apologize, as my what do you call it? Shit. Why am I having such a hard time?
Monica Rambeau.
My Monica Rambeau Award. I'm definitely going to be nominating Bronwyn for my Monica Rambeau Award at the end of the Rings of Power, because the Monica Rambeau Award is universal, so it can be applied to any genre or TV series of any kind. It makes no difference. It's not to be Marvel. So no, I felt like I've enjoyed watching the contrast and I guess the reflection of each individual, right? Because they've done that. They basically had 3 or 4 different characters give him life lessons, give him advice, including the twisted betrayer, old man and shit and whatnot, right? That like wanted to like bend the knee to Saran and shit and all that and whatnot, and join the dark forces and shit, right? So like the one that was actually like kind of convincing him to go that way, So at that point, that part I found interesting. And yeah, I mean, she definitely, what she told him is very Galadriel, right? Like, I mean, she's a hard bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, she's a Stoneheart type person. And she's very black and white, right? I think she actually mentions during her conversation with Theo that she once did like have a boyfriend or whatever. Didn't she actually say that at one point, that she had a boyfriend or whatever?
Husband.
Oh, husband. Okay.
She had a husband. Yeah, she mentions her relationship with her husband and what happened to him, and how that affected her, and how that kind of led her to kind of the path she went on, between losing him and losing her brother. That kind of lit that flame that she has had this whole time, getting revenge. And so that kind of goes on that.
Did he see She-Hulk episode 7? Is that what killed him?
Maybe, I don't know. It could have been the twerking with with Megan Thee Stallion too. I don't know.
I would love to see Galadriel twerk with Megan Thee Stallion.
There you go.
That'd be dope. That would be dope.
That would be dope.
It would be dope, definitely. I would like to see Galadriel twerk on her own, to be honest with you. I don't even need Megan Thee Stallion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Morphid, you like to just see Morphid just get down and jiggy with it.
I'm gonna have to look around here and see if I can find there's gotta be at least one shot, one image online of Galadriel, that actress, in a bathing suit or something at some point. I've got to find it, I'm telling you. That would be great for a new intro, folks, for the Bleeding Edge. Right?
There you go, folks.
Yep, there you go.
There you go, folks. There's your new Bleeding Edge-esque picture,
but
and all that kind of stuff.
But Galadriel definitely gets like some blues or some rock or some like alternative rock though with her intro. No rap. Galadriel's not a rap kind of chick. So but no, on a serious note, I think that yes, although she is sort of dark and like sort of rough, and can be a little harsh and whatnot, which of course I have no problem with, but and all that. But I think that overall, she's been alive for so long. She's so experienced, right? Like she's been a warrior for a long time. She's been out there like fighting evil, like living it, getting tested, right? And like being on her own, having to fight on her own too, like alone against against enemies and whatnot, and not even caring. Out there on her own trying to freaking find Saran and shit. Like she's dedicated. So I mean, she's no joke. And at that point, I'd have to imagine that, like, in that universe, in that moment, if you're Theo, she's probably a pretty impactful person to like have talk to you, right, and tell you things. I think you probably would listen.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. And I mean, we kind of see that throughout. We've seen that throughout the series so far. Like you were saying, we've seen it a couple different instances throughout the 7 episodes we've watched. And I think that this was no exception, that they would have more education of Theo. Because I don't know, I think maybe down the road, Theo will become a significant character that might be related to somebody that is related to Lord of the Rings. That's just my feeling on him. I think there's a connection to him and one of the characters from that band, the 9 humans that end up with the rings of power. I think he's going to be a part of that. I think he's going to be one of those 9 people. And I think that's kind of like what they're kind of leading to, because with him being able to get that sword and being able to use it and so forth, I think there's something special about Theo that's going to lead to that. Ended up being a part of that whole ring brigade that we end up getting, that leads to, when Sauron gets defeated. So I definitely think that he is going to be an integral part. And I think that's why we're seeing all this kind of tutoring of him and kind of why he's so important to the series, I believe.
Oh yeah, there's got to be a reason. There's clearly the design there, and I think that we have to remember too. This version of Galadriel does not have that elegance and that ethereal ability and quality and whatnot that she asserts, right, and like gives off and whatnot, right, in the Lord of the Rings. She's not there yet. She's not that Galadriel at this point, right, where she becomes regal. You know what I mean? Like, and like really powerful. Like right now, she's almost like young Galadriel, right? So it's that, which is another interesting dynamic, right? Because I mean, honestly, the Galadriel that we work with in Lord of the Rings is at a whole different fucking level to this Galadriel. You know what I mean? Like the one in Lord of the Rings is all intellectual, all about strategy and like, and thinking things through. You know what I mean, and whatnot, right? She's not worried about. Her first instinct is not to smash shit.
True. Very true. 100%. So, before we move on with the episode, how about going over the trailer, sir? Watching that, kind of getting our uppity going, for our, getting that, hoorah going for us on there, watching those videos and then kind of discussing them a little bit.
Most definitely. Trailers, I can do.
My brother gave his life hunting the enemy. His task is now mine. Speak your truth. You already know. Stand with me. Ours was no chance meeting. Not fate. Nor destiny. Ours was the work of something greater.
Each of us, every one, must decide who we shall be.
I am not the hero you seek.
Whatever it was you did, be free of it.
One day this will be your kingdom.
Raise your sail and then let go. Choose not the path of fear, but that of faith.
One thing we can do, better than any creature in all Middle-earth, we stay true to each other with our hearts even bigger than our feet. survive this. You and I.
Commander! Wait! No! We keep moving!
Why do you keep fighting?
There is a tempest in me.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel. Put up your sword.
Without it, what am I to be? We thought the war, at last, was ended.
Today, our days of peace begin.
We thought our joys would be unending. We thought our light would never dim.
The skies are strange.
It is here, Galadriel. The moment we feared.
Evil does not sleep. It waits.
Beyond the darkness, tempting shadow to bury us all beneath the mountain.
He has not one name, but many.
Have you heard of him, lad? Have you heard of Sauron?
If the evil rising is left unchecked, it will take us all. Find the light, and the shadow will not find you.
Together we can survive this!
Fight with me.
Each of us must decide who we shall be.
There can be no trust between hammer and rock. Eventually, one or the other must surely break.
You have been told many lies of Middle-earth.
I mean, honestly, if what's his name there at the very end of that last trailer pops up in the season finale, I'm gonna be psyched as shit because I love that character. I wish we had gotten more of him in the actual Lord of the Rings movie.
The Balrog?
Balrog is bomb ass. I love that character.
Yeah, but can you imagine how fucking hard it must be to actually even put that thing on screen? You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, dude. You know, like, I mean, no, I mean, for back then, I mean, I'm thinking back, talking back then, right? In Lord of the Rings, you know what I mean? Like, just what they gave us was probably like, who knows how much money to even make that happen and how hard that was, right? So, you know, now that, I mean, it's been a long time since then. So who knows what they could do with the Balrog? I mean, it would have been nice to actually see like its full size and scope. That would have been nice, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I would agree. And like, I totally like that first trailer that we watched. I absolutely love the music in it. It is such a fantastic soundtrack, and it just gets you pumped. It gets you wanting to watch it. It makes you want to like get into it. It just was phenomenal. And I mean, that second trailer is not too shabby either. I mean, I think both of them are very well done. And compared to, I would say, like the previous trailers that we've seen, now being on episode 7, I think that they got better and better with each trailer, and that they really showed a lot more in these 2 trailers and given us a lot of great stuff to, be excited about. And I think that they did a really good job with them. So, what are your thoughts on the trailers and how they compared to when we first started the series?
Well, I'd say that, I mean, hey, they're good trailers. They definitely are. I think that the first one has several really solid shots that the second one just doesn't have, other than the Balrog, right? That one shot in the first trailer where you see Galadriel falling off, climbing the mountain, and she uses her sword to like catch herself, or her dagger or whatever and whatnot, and she clings off of it and whatnot, and you see her face with her scarf on. That is epic, right? It is. It's just as epic as the scene for that our intro is based off of, where you see her plant her sword into the ground, right? Like, that's epic. Just the fact that the way that they changed the shot and centered it on the actual sword and the lower third of the image, you know what I mean, and focused on the sword going into the ground and her feet and shit. That was dope. I liked how they changed the shots on that and whatnot, right, and focused on that the lower part of the image, and all that. That's why I picked it for the intro. I really liked it. But I thought that, if anything, maybe I might have at first gotten more of an impression in the beginning based off the trailers that there was going to be more action in the series than there has been. They make it appear that there's going to be some epic battles and shit going on, like some real serious fighting going on and whatnot. They show that in there. There's not a ton of it, but it's there. Right. And look, I'm not complaining or anything and whatnot, all that. It's not like that. I'm not unhappy with the series. I'm just saying that, I guess this is part of the industry, right? This is a business, like, this is how it works with these trailers. You can't, even if you know that like your first season is going to be very suppositional and character driven and whatnot, right? You still have to show the fans and whatnot and draw and get the attention and draw in an audience and whatnot. So you got to throw people the bone. You got to give them the epic, Aaron Deer with that damn axe launching through the air and shit scene and whatnot and everything, which we haven't seen yet. Can't wait for that, right? That was pretty cool. I didn't even notice that the first time I saw that trailer. So I didn't notice it until now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's gonna be epic.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think that if anything, they sort of did not really show Aaron Deer much in the trailers, right? Considering in reality how core he is to at least the first season. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with season 2? Things could go in a lot of different directions, right? And we'll talk about that, I'm sure, down the road. I mean, if anything, once we get done, covering the finale, shit, you and I could probably sit down and do a freaking, an hour and a half long show just theorizing on how season 2 will work and how it will go. Once we know all the full details, right, of the first season and what's going to go down in the finale. I think a lot of stuff's going to get revealed. Like there's going to be a lot of, or maybe there won't. Like maybe all we'll really get is Saran. And that's it. Other than that, like, even the Stranger will just be the Stranger still going into season 2. Who knows? Again, he's barely in the trailers, right? Like he's not even a concept of the trailers. Probably because without the story, without watching the series, there'd be no way of even knowing what the hell he even was or what his deal was or what who this is or whatever, right? So I'd say that it connects pretty well with what we watched. It does. It doesn't oversell too badly, right? The actual series we've watched in terms of the story, in terms of the visuals. It fits. It's not overstretched or anything like that and whatnot. It doesn't overblow the series, I don't think, at all. I don't see any reason why anybody would have watched those trailers and been like, literally like, ready to, kill somebody after watching this series afterwards, because they're so disappointed that this didn't live up to those trailers. I just don't see it.
Agreed. I would agree too. I mean, I don't think that any of the trailers have been lackluster at all. I think all the trailers have been done very well. I think a lot of them have had good soundtracks, and that many of them have been, very enticing. They have made you want to watch the show. I mean, I think the first trailer that came out, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this looks interesting. It wasn't until the second trailer that came out that really got me to pulled in and wanted to watch this series. So I think I think that, like I said, I feel they get better and better with each trailer that they put out and giving us some solid stuff, and really well done.
Oh, and Cyber, for me, I mean, as my friend and whatnot and everything, and somebody that, that I confide in and whatnot, we don't talk much here on the show about like any of my past and my story and whatnot. But in general, I'm sure that, like, for me, this exploration on the bleeding edge of covering these different series like House of the Dragon and the Rings of Power, right? This actually is influencing my personal life now, because this is opening doors for me, right? To where in my own life now, I'm feeling more willing and inclined to wanting to go watch other stuff, other TV stuff that's not Marvel, right? Related and whatnot, right? Not MCU, DCU related. And that's good for me, right? Like, that makes my life more like better and more fun, and more enriching, so, and it allows me to meet other people, meet different creators, right? Opens doors, expands our network. So it's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. And I'll tell you right now, folks, I'm hoping that at some point down the road, people start to pay attention to the fact that Cyber and I, think what you will of us and whatnot in terms of how we cover these episodes, these movies, of these shows. But we could very easily just go ahead and decide to start doing all of the clickbait, shit talking, slam this series, slam that series, this is garbage, ideological crap. We could play all that angle crap if we wanted to. Believe me, we could. We could do it and do it well, right? And we would probably be a lot bigger, have more stats, right? We would. We could do it. Steiber could do it. I could do it. We're capable of it. Believe me. We're not, we know how to play that shit. We do. I've done it before. I have. And I'm not doing it again, right? It's that simple. We don't have any desire to be a part of any of that. And it's not that we're any better than anybody out there, creator-wise, right? It's just that we don't want to be that we don't want to be that kind of channel. We don't want to be that kind of podcast. We're positive people, right? We care about other people, and at that point, I know you were me, Cyber. I don't want to get big off of fucking slamming shit left and right just for shits and giggles, for views.
No, you want to be an original. You want to be different. You want to go above the class and be recognized for something that's different, right? Not just because it's clickbait. Yeah, most definitely.
That's right. That's why at the end of the day, if I say if I like the Rings of Power and I think it's all right, I don't give a shit what the other creators say and whatnot. If they think it's terrible, I'll flat out publicly put it out there proudly that I'm loving it. I think it's good.
All right. Most definitely. I think it's been a pretty decent series so far. Really fun, really good. Most definitely. All right. So thank you for bearing with us with that trailer stuff. Thank you guys out there who's watching or listening.
Oh, I'll tell you, Cyber, honestly, what would be interesting? Just for once, I would really love it if we could actually be able to have some way to find out how much it costs to make these trailers. That would be really nice to know for once. I'd love to know those figures. How much it actually costs to make these trailers.
I mean, honestly, if you think about it, the trailers are basically made from clips of the film that you've already made and produced. So whatever the cost of that portion of the filming would probably give you an estimated of how much it would cost to make that trailer. So usually it's edits that the director has put together and puts into a trailer. So I it's pretty much the cost of the film if you think about it, really.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, it is. You're right. I didn't think about it. It is that simple.
Yeah, it's nothing really complicated.
You're right. You're right. It is that simple. I don't know what the hell I was thinking with that. That's some stupid shit. That was not. You know what, folks? I let the true knowledge title down that time. I apologize.
The true knowledge is in the house, people, on
Yep.
the MCU's bleeding edge.
I failed my true knowledge name and true knowledge
Oh,
ancestors and whatnot there for a minute. Unfortunately.
he did not, people. Don't listen to what he's saying. He's fine. He's fine. All right. So going on with the episode, let's see, where did we leave off? We were talking about Durin and Elrond leaving, him calling him after he sees what the power of the ore is. So then after that, it goes back to Theo and Gadriel when they have arrived at the encampment. And before that, we get a brief. We see the queen and the other guards she's with, and they approach the general guy. And she gets up on the horse, and she's riding along on the horse. They inform him that unfortunately his son has died. And you can see it in him that he was heartbroken about it. But as they're going back, it shows them, and she's on the horse and they're walking alongside her. She goes, how long until we're out of the mist? And they kind of look at each other and look up at her, and the general guy kind of walks in like, we've been out of it for about a mile, ma'am. And she's like, and he's like, what are you seeing? And she's like, only gray. And basically determining that she is, from whatever happened at the accident there, she's blind. And this is, kind of devastating, but she's like, still move on, just pretend that I'm fine, just keep going, let's get to the camp. So they get to the camp, like I said, and that's where Gadriel and Theo pop back up. And so of course we see Theo, he's walking around trying to find his mother, Browin. And he goes into one of like the hut things, and we see like all types of people on different like beds and stuff like that. And there's a gal kind of crouching down, facing the other way, and he kind of looks over, and she turns her head, and he realizes it's not his mother. And then he sees another person and another like bed thing with the sheet over or blanket over the person, same kind of like looking hair and stuff like that. And he kind of starts to lean down to go, and then all of a sudden you hear a little noise behind him, and he turns around, and there's Browin, and she's fine, and she hugs him. And she has survived as well. So that was good to see that she is alive. And then basically after she, she's there, she hugs him and stuff like that. Then we see that, what's his name? The other elf character, which his name is escaping me at this moment. What's the other guy's name? Arendir. Sorry, folks out there. Arendir. We see that he's okay too. He hugs Theo as well. And they kind of like all get their hugs and stuff like that out and stuff like that, and kind of reminisce a little bit. And then after that, that's when it pans back again to Durin and Elrond in the cave, and they're basically working in the cave and looking for the ore. And they're doing that. They're doing the thing, and they stop for a second to let the dust and stuff settle so that it gets to them being able to see. And they start to have like a little bit of a conversation. And stuff like that as they're sitting there, and basically the comments of the the whole plot of the little conversation there, is kind of Durin kind of asked Elrond, "Did you lie about this?" And Elrond's like, "Well, duh." And he's like, he's kind of like, oh, but he's like, but it was a white lie, basic type of deal. And, that it's for a purpose and stuff like that. And, I still, am strong and faithful to you and stuff like that. And as the dust finally settles, they kind of get up and look inside, and Elrond's looking in and goes, "Durin, look!" And then as they're looking for a second, all of a sudden, out of nowhere from behind them comes Durin's father, King Durin the Third, and basically, says arrest Elrond and escort him out, basically. And him and his father have a conversation, and of course the dad's talking about tradition and traditions like that, and basically the other Durin's like, you can't progress or move on if we just do this. It's not like they're just gonna be sitting there somewhere. They're gonna be extinct. They're and this stuff, we need to progress, father, and all this kind of stuff. And they have that kind of heated argument, stuff like that. And basically it leads to Durin the Fourth having his kingship removed for him, or any of his royal duties. And basically the father throws down his whatever the the gold thing was that represents his royalty, and says you leave it there, and then it exit. So before we move on past that, what were your thoughts on that conversation between Durin and his father? What were your thoughts on the conversation between Elrond and him? What did you think about Theo and his reuniting with Eredir and Browin? And what was your thoughts on the finding out that the queen is now blind? I was actually I was surprised they decided to do that. I thought that was kind of interesting. I kind of knew something was amiss, how she was walking and how he was guiding her. I thought something was definitely amiss. And I definitely thought that, that the actress that plays the queen, I thought she did a really good job in making it look believable too, as well. And I think all the conversations, I think, were really intense and interesting. And I thought they all played out really well. And I thought all the actors did a really good job. So what are your thoughts, sir?
Well, let's see. The Queen Regent is Muriel, is played by Cynthia Adai Robinson. And she is the Queen Regent of Numenor, an island kingdom ruled by men descended from Elrond's half-elven brother Elros. Very interesting. Well, you know what? Yeah, I thought that was very surprising that she was blinded. I guess that, like, it makes sense. I mean, basically, I mean, there were fireballs flying over the place and whatnot and everything. I mean, her corneas probably got burned out, by the bright light. Or the heat could have done it, but she's a strong character. She's an interesting character. I like her. I do. I do. I find her positive. I like her scenes. And she's a fighter, I mean, although like they're already talking about and planning on leaving, and going back to Numenor and whatnot and everything, right? They're still fighting, to survive and push forward and keep walking and all that. Basically, did we get to the part where did we get to the part where the Harfoots sort of send the stranger off on his own?
Yeah, I already talked about that.
Okay. Now, just to be clear, just one reflection backwards with that. I love the scene where Poppy gave him the apple. That was really, really sweet. It really was. Now, as far as Durin and Elrond goes, as far as I'm concerned, I think that Elrond and Durin's friendship, and their scenes together and whatnot, is probably legitimately the most authentic aspect or dynamic or relationship in the series, probably. Legitimately. Also the most well done, and actually very well done and always positive to see, right? It's inspiring, there's nothing negative about it. There's no way to want to see them and their friendship and whatnot and not in some way connect on a level of the admiration that they have each other as friends, right? You know, I think that it's really, really cool to see any series out there, any TV show, any movie focusing on a friendship. I don't care what the dynamics of it is, a chick and a chick or whatever, a guy and a woman, a guy and a guy, a trans woman and a guy, a tree person and a woman, you know, whatever. It makes no difference. Although why you'd want to be a friend, be friends with a tree person, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be personally. I would not, with all due respect to tree people, I would not use your pronouns and call you a tree or whatever, a tree person or whatever. I would not do it. I refuse. I will not do it. You know, there's certain things I'll do, but I'm not doing that. I am not going to fucking like live in that delusional reality that you live in, that you're a tree. Okay. You're not a tree, motherfucker. You're a human being. The day you become a tree, I will fucking, you know, I will then give you the due respect and call you a tree person, right? I respect your bark. So, you know, and roots. But either way, no, it's a genuine friendship. It's very jovial. I love their banter, the humor that comes along with it, right? And then of course, Durin's wife just kind of like vibes and connects off of it, right? And riffs off of the friendship all the time, right? And that's cool too, you know? And basically I feel like it's sad in a way because I feel like Durin is naive, right? Like, Elrond's not as naive as Durin, right? Elrond is less emotional and more logical thinking, logic based. Yet at the same time, he has integrity, right? He does. And he's a unique elf, you know? He's a unique elf that looks at the world differently and views other races differently. You know, he's the Martin Luther King of the elves, you know, essentially. Which is much better than being the Nancy Pelosi of the elves, you know, because that would be rough. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is pretty rough to begin with, but her as an elf would be really rough. You know, but you never know. Maybe that could be a second calling, like for her, like in the future. You never know. She could be an elf. Maybe she'll be in season 2, right? With her ice cream, you know. But you know, either way, no. I thought that honestly, what I was thinking to myself was how funny it would be is if when they were looking for the fucking for their digging or whatever and whatnot, right? Like Durin was like, "Fuck it, I'm digging for this shit anyway or whatever." Fuck my dad. I was thinking to myself, like, how cool it would be if like I came on the show and I was like, you know what? They found crack rock. It wasn't mithril, it was crack rock up in there. You know what I'm saying? They were like, "What is this?" It was crack rock, baby. You know, straight up big ass fucking like mound of crack, baby. You know, crack rock. And you know, and then fucking Tyrone Biggins popped out too from behind a rock. You know what I mean? And he was like, "Yo, baby, what up? Let's do it. Let's do it." You know?
Is
drugs,
this the 5 o'clock crack giveaway?
yeah, drugs and alcohol have ruined my life. So, anyways, you know, I was just thinking how funny that would be if they found crack in there instead of mithril. Like, what would they do with it? You know? I mean, seriously, I mean, could you imagine an elf on crack?
That would be scary, I think.
That'd be interesting, man. Could you imagine Galadriel on crack?
Oh my god. This Galadriel? Yeah, I would be very, 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 very scared. I would be very frightened.
I think it'd be funny, to tell you the truth. I'm telling you, man. But I'll, you know, I just haven't put it out there, folks. I wish I knew the name of the channel. There's a YouTube channel. There's a YouTuber. Oof. that does like spoof skits on these episodes of the Rings of Power, where he has these 3 characters on his videos. He has like baby, he has baby, he has baby Elrond, he has Gandalf, right? With as the actor of Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, and he has like the Sean Bean character Boromir, right? And they're all sitting around like drinking coffee on couches and shit and whatnot. It's all like, you know, half-assed looking and everything and whatnot, the visual effects of it and shit. And they just have this dialogue between the 3 of each other about each episode where they crack jokes and talk shit and everything and whatnot. It's hilarious. Hilarious. I'm telling you. It's funny as shit. But either way, no, like I said, you know, it's nice to see a genuine friendship flushed out like that, right? It really is. It's a very positive motif. You know, it's a good thing. It's a good positive dynamic to have in the season, right? I really enjoyed it. And I think that Durin is very sweet, right? I mean, he cried like 3 times in the episode, you know? I mean, like at one point I was literally at the point where I was like, Durin, come on, stop crying like a little bitch, dude. Like, come on now. Are you a dwarf or are you fucking one of these people that like reacted to the Wakanda Forever trailer and like cried your eyes out like you're gonna die or whatever? Come on now. So I thought maybe he was just got done reacting to Wakanda Forever trailer or something. You know, he was crying so much. You know, but who knows? Either way, I feel bad in a way for him because again, he is naive, right? He's all heart, you know, like he loves his friend. You know what I mean? He does. And it's nice. It's nice to see. Hey, at least Amazon didn't Disneyfy it or like go with a Disney angle with it and have them like have there be sexual, you know, type, you know, shit going down with them during in the friendship and whatnot, like Disney would try to do, right?
Very true. Very true. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think their whole relationship has been a very big key proponent in this series so far. And yeah, I was thinking the same thing while watching it going. I was like really surprised at how many times Durin cried in this episode. And I was like, Jesus, man, get it together. You know, I mean, I get, yeah, there could be a little emotion, but you know, you don't want to go too far there, man. But yeah, I mean, seeing like this dwarf kind of like, you know, be sad, it was kind of endearing too at the same time. So I thought that was well done by the actor. I thought he did a fantastic job. So yeah, toots to Darren himself, that, you know, created that character. Let's see here, who he is played by during the 4th. Owen Arthur is his name. He's a Welsh actor. Yeah, I think he's a fantastic actor. I think he's doing a great job as the character, most definitely. And yeah, yeah, great points there, Jeff. Really great points. Very good, sir. All right, so moving on from there. So we left off. What was I saying? What was I talking? Let's see. The Elrond being cast out. So Elrond got cast out, like I said, by Durin the Third, and like I said, Durin the Fourth got his royalty stripped from him. After he gets his royalty stripped from him, he goes back to his wife, and they kind of have a brief conversation, and you know, saying, you know, basically the wife was like, you know, I feel this is what I thought she was meaning by it, was that, you know, you tried and just keep trying. Your father will come around eventually and see the light, you know, basically. And that's pretty much what I took away from the conversation with them too.
Well, she went a little harder than that, though. She actually went a little hard there for a minute. She was like, you know what? Down the road, you're going to be the king.
Yep.
Right? And there's going to be some shit then.
Very true. Very true. Yep. So yeah, I mean, she gave him kind of like a pep talk, but at the same time, you know, she was being considerate, understanding, and stuff like that, which I thought was really nice, and I thought it was a really good scene. And so yeah, so basically that happens,
I wonder how they found a bra that big for her back in those days. You know, because she got some massive titties, man. You know, those bitches are like double K's.
Well, I foresee that clothing has been around a very long time in the Tolkien world, so I don't think that was a problem. It was, they had to just, create more, product in order to be able to cover them. You know what I mean?
If it's possible to not even have a chest and just have tits, she's got that going. There's not even a chest, just huge tits. That's it. Yep.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, all right. So just everyone out there, just to let you know, once again, Jeff, pinpointed right, dwarf tits, dwarf tits. Anyways,
Hey, I would smash a dwarf, baby. I would definitely smash one. I'm telling you, right, especially her.
yeah, but Jeff, it's fantasy. She's not a real dwarf, I don't think.
And Durham would be watching and crying. Again, he'd be crying.
Okay, if you say so. If you say so. So after that, then that's when we go back to the Hartwoods again. And as you mentioned earlier, Poppy gave the stranger the apple. No, that was actually Nori that gave.
Oh yeah, Nori. Yep.
Nori gave the apple, and they're like, we go back to the Hartwoods, and they're there in their little land, and Nori wakes up, and all of a sudden she notices people are all like gathered around the tree, and the tree is basically producing apples again. And she's like, "What's going on?" She's like, the stranger, he fixed it. It's producing things again, basically. And they realize, oh crap, we're idiots, and we sent him off to his ultimate doom, basically. So Nori's like, I'm gonna go find him and help him. And basically, then her friend Poppy ends up saying, I'm gonna go with her too. And so then they're like, well, the older people are like, you guys can't go by yourself. You guys are going to need a guide, basically. And so that's when the elder Hartfoot guy says, oh, okay, I'll go with you guys. Wait for me. And we see them kind of tracing off and going in the direction where the stranger went. And they're like, hey, how are we going to find him? They're like, it shouldn't be hard. He's a giant to us. So, basically that's where it leaves off, the Hartwoods. And so then it goes back to the destroyed village. And at the destroyed village, we get kind of like all of a sudden we see kind of like an eye open up at some point during this scene. And we see something get up out of the ashes that's really huge and monstrous. And you're kind of like, oh God, what is this? And it only shows it briefly. It's very quick. And then after that, it goes back to seeing Adar, and Adar's walking through the blown up city, and with the other orcs and stuff like that. And they keep chanting Adar, 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 and stuff like that. And they're like, what we're gonna call this place? And one of them mentions the name, and he's like, no. And he kind of sits himself down and is kind of staring off and thinking. And as he's basically looking off in the distance, it goes to a back view from him, and goes up and shows you kind of the landscape. And it says Southlands at first, and then all of a sudden it goes Mordor, and you're like, holy shit balls. Mordor, no way! More Sauron type of deal. And that's how the episode ends. And I was like, wow, that's how you end it on the Mordor thing? I'm like, holy crap, we're getting to the Lord of the Rings here. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be interesting. I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, ooh, the finale's got to be fantastic. Then it's got to be amazing. It's got to have a lot of action and stuff like that. So it's gonna be awesome. But my question for you, Sir Jeff, is what did you think about those ending sequences? The conversation between Durin and his wife. The realization of them setting up the stranger was wrong. and Nori, Poppy, and the elder Lightfoot going after him, and then kind of that introduction to Mordor. What were your thoughts on that conclusion of this episode?
Well, I mean, I guess if anything, I was surprised. Although I guess it makes sense that that the Numenorians felt so defeated and whatnot, to the point where they were like ready, that they were down to run from jump, like, you know. But then again, they only came with 500 troops anyway, right? Like, I mean, how many were even left after what happened? I don't even completely grasp the entirety of what even went down with episode 6 and all those fireballs and the volcano and shit. I have no concept of who survived, how many people survived through that and didn't. At that point, for one thing, I am wondering is, why aren't there more people to fight, right, on the side of good? Like, why aren't there more people? Like, why aren't there more soldiers? Why aren't there more men? Why aren't there more elves? Like, that's the only thing that I was kind of thinking throughout the episode, was like, why is it that they're so limited, right, when it comes to resources, like, for battle and for war? Like, that's the only thing I don't get. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I mean, they make it almost seem like Middle Earth is desolate, right? And like, all there is these characters, the Harfoots, Galadriel, couple elves, you know, and like, you know, some dudes. You know, and you got Numenor over there, you know, like, where's everybody else? That's what I was kind of thinking to myself, is like, that's it. Like, you got to give up because you lost one battle. You can't like send out emissaries or something or whatever to reach out to the other cities and shit, you know what I mean, and whatnot, and let them know what's going down. Try to, like, you know, like they did in Lord of the Rings, right? You know, to try to gin up, some soldiers and shit, right? Form some alliances, you know what I mean? Like, you know, put a team together, right? So they can actually fight. You know, but I guess they'll probably explain all that and show that to us in the finale and season 2, right? Like, where, you know, I guarantee in season 2 we will see other towns and cities and like actual areas of civilization in Middle Earth. There must be other ones. I have to believe that, right? Yeah. I mean, they, you know, at this point in history, if I understand correctly, Middle Earth has been inhabited for a very long time, right? So there has to be people. Like, there has to be civilizations and like groups of people other than just these people. So basically, I felt like they left the episode heading into the finale in a weird place, where they're all defeated. Like, they're defeated, they're crushed. Like, you know, there's no hope almost, right? They didn't try to like end the show with like some kind of hope, right? Like, instead of having like, you know, the orcs and shit, you know, and what's his name, you know, Ardor or whatever and whatnot, Ardir, you know, talking their shit. You know, if they wanted to, they could have like left some sprinkle of hope. Something good could have happened, right? You know, the stranger could have like suddenly in the last minute of the episode decided he knew who he was and like said the word Gandalf or some shit, you know, something. But instead, we still are left with Haldren, like, mortally wounded, right? In like the in the war camp, right? And I guess he's taken to fever, I think, at that point, you know. So he's basically on his deathbed, I think, to some extent. Although we already know he's Saran anyway. So like, he can't die, I don't think, anyway. Of course, because the wonders of the internet spoiled that for me last episode. Thank you very much, Google, as always. Wikipedia, for changing your damn Wikipedia page in motion. Since when do you do that, Wikipedia? Well, whatever. Well, I guess
Well, don't forget we're a couple weeks behind, so
Well, yeah, you know what? I just realized that's what Wikipedia does, isn't it? They do actually change and like alter it constantly to like make it better. That's how they work. So I can't really blame them for that, right? I get it. So I'm thinking that if anything in the finale, we're gonna see Galadriel confront and find out, right? That Haldren or whatever is Saran, right? Like you got to figure that if anything, with her being the central character, she'll be the first one that he'll want to talk to, and she'll be the first one that he'll want to unveil to and like let know who I really am, right? Like, hey, like you thought I was this and that and whatever and whatnot. Well, guess what? I'm actually the dark goddamn lord. You know, that's who I am. You know, so there you go. But definitely, definitely. I mean, I'm happy with the way things ended. I really am. I'm glad that they didn't try to pull off some like White Knight, you know, save the day, whatever crap at the end there. They left it dark, right? And like messy with like, you know, with no motivation, with nothing positive, like no positive, you know, energy coming for like the finale, you know, nothing to work with in terms of like, you know, in terms of motivation or desire to like rekindle the spirit to fight, right? Amongst all the different like, you know, characters and whatnot, right? Something to inspire them. You know what I mean? You know, a person, a character, an issue, an event, right? A death, something. So, if anything, I'm very, very much feeling very speculative and like, and wondering how this finale is going to play out based off this, like what they're going to lay out for us, you know, because it's going to be interesting. You know, it really it's going to be. I don't see how they can do the finale and have it be bad. I don't get it. I don't see it. I refuse to believe. I would bet. I bet $100 right now. I will enjoy the finale at the end of it when I watch it. I will not be unhappy with it. I won't. I know it. Coming off episode 7, I know it. Right? You know how it is, Cyber. If episode 7 had been half-ass, then maybe I would have been concerned. But it wasn't.
yeah, most definitely. I get where you're coming from. Yeah, I don't think I think in whole so far, all 7 episodes have all had some good and some bad to it all together, and I think it's been overall a great series so far. There's definitely been moments where I got a little bored, and then I was revived by action sequences or a great storytelling. And I think that so far in a whole, it's been really decent. So I foresee the finale being really good and, you know, probably leave us on a cliffhanger is usually how they usually do these, you know, series finales or season finales to get you enticed to want to come back for the next season. So, you know, if all plays out, it'd probably be the whole Sauron reveal and the Gandalf reveal and stuff like that, which will probably kind of how it goes and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how this plays out, how good it's going to be, and I foresee it being a decent finale as well. And I would, you know, I would bet $100 that I would enjoy it too as well. I have no qualms that I wouldn't like it at all. So I'm really have high hopes for it, and I think it's going to be good anyways.
There's going to be good action too. We know that because we already saw that damn scene with Arendir and that axe and shit flying through the air and whatnot. We haven't seen that yet, so we know it's coming in the finale. It's coming.
Most definitely. All right. And what were your thoughts on to wrap this episode up? What were your thoughts on Galadriel having to bring Halbrand back with her to the Alps to heal him? What were your thoughts on that? I mean, did you think there was any signs there that he possibly could be Sauron, you know, after having that, you know, unfortunately revealed to you because of Wikipedia? Screw you, Wikipedia.
I think that Saran, at least at this stage of his life, or you know, or whatever, is at a place where he's inquisitive, right? And I think that he legitimately, I cannot say that I understand his mindset or what his goals are exactly. Or if he, or what he's trying to accomplish right now with what he's doing, his whole premise of pretending he's somebody else and all that shit and whatnot, right? And then he's some kind of hero, But I do find it very, very interesting that whatever happened in the Southlands, he's supposed to be this big figure, right? The leader, the king of the Southlands and whatnot and everything, which I guess is some important thing, right? And yet nobody knew who he was as a person, like upon seeing him, right? Really, like nobody had any idea. So basically, I guess where I'm going with this is just that, if anything, I feel like he's being very strategic and secret agent about shit, and he wanted to go with the elves. He wanted to go be healed with the elves and whatnot. He knew he probably was the one that inflicted the injuries on his own to himself, right? Knowing that at that point the only people that'd be able to help him would be the elves, and knowing Galadriel, and that Galadriel would automatically do that for him, right? Because they do have some kind of deal or whatever, where I guess Galadriel likes bad boys or some shit, essentially, right? Good for her, and so I think it's all planned, and I think that I don't think his goal is like destruction. I don't think he's trying to be a weapon. I don't think he's trying to get in with the elves so that he can like blow shit up. I think he's playing. I think he's learning. I think he's playing and sort of he's sort of at a place right now where he wants to individually corrupt people in a way, right? Like he's actually not so big and so powerful and like monolithic to where his only goals are to like devastate entire like lands and whatnot, take them over and put them in darkness and all that shit, right? Enslave the populations. I think at this point in his life, he actually is inquisitive. He's a man, right? He started off as a human being. So at that point, what's his name? Just like Adar, right? And how basically, right? And how we watched Adar evolve, right? Throughout time. At one point, he was an elf, right? Then he was like mutated or whatever and experimented on and made into one of the first orcs and all that kind of shit. Look where he's at now, I think that we're watching basically the evolution, right, of Sauron at a point in his life where he is actually interested in individuals and races, right, and relationships and love. And I think he does have a thing for Galadriel. I do.
I would agree. I definitely think so. I mean, do you think at all that maybe Sauron has lost his memory, and that's why he's pretending to be this person? Has that crossed your mind at all? Kind of like what's happened to the stranger. Maybe there was an instance with the stranger and him that caused both of them to lose their memories. Do you think there's any possibility of that?
No, I think it's more possible that whatever happened in the initial war, right, where Morgoth was killed, right, and everything, and the Dvarf forces were defeated, and Sauron and the orcs were scattered across Middle Earth, right? I think at that point, in order to survive, it was more logical for him, right, to hide, right? And what better way to hide, right, than maintain a human form, right? And be a good guy. And just kind of like lay low, you know? Maybe he was wounded in battle or something at one point during like the war or something like that, right? Maybe he was not intact, right? Like, like Gandalf, right? Like, like the stranger, where his full powers weren't there, like he wasn't capable of his full self, and he needed to kind of like lay low. I mean, he's obviously, I'm sure he's been aware this whole time that like Galadriel and the elves are hunting him, So at that point, you got to remember, at one point, he was coming off a defeat in a war. His forces were scattered, just like this episode with the Numenorians and Galadriel and everybody else, right? Same deal. Like they got their asses kicked. They're still not whole. Like they are still like not a whole force. They're spread out all over the place. So I think if anything, probably that Sauron is just biding his time to reveal who he really is. At which point he will not be Halbrand anymore and whatnot, or be human looking. He will morph into
Halbrand.
He will morph into whatever he looks like, right? Actually, in real life.
Cool. I feel that it could be either scenario. I'll be interested to see how it plays out in the finale. And I think that it's going to be interesting and see is this exactly how Sauron comes into the picture. It's going to be fun, I think. I'm really looking forward to it. All right, folks. So that is it for this review. Want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you all. We did not receive any comments, but of course, us not being on Facebook, we're probably not getting any comments because of that. Darn you, Restream. But anyways, want to thank everybody. You guys are all awesome. Anybody that is watching us live or watching us after we are not live on the playbacks and stuff like that. Of course, if you enjoy me as a moderator or just enjoy me on the panel, you can always check out my solo content under Cybernetic Shark as well. I do all kinds of cool stuff on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Rizzle, all those great places. Definitely check them out. All that good stuff. So, yeah, definitely give it a whirl. And you guys rock. We're going to be doing the third episode of Andor this Friday. Mr. Jeff will be moderating that. And as you can see, he's far away, man, right now. Oh, far away, Jeff. Far away. You're so far away.
Hey, listen, there's a creative process involved in content creation, folks. Things have to be tried a first time and a second time before you perfect them. So this is a work in progress you're seeing right now.
Very true, very true. And then, of course, next Wednesday, we'll be doing the finale of The Rings of Power. We also, within 2 weeks, we'll be doing our review of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So keep that in mind, people. And before we head out, is there anything you would like to say, Jeff?
Yes, I believe that if I remember correctly, I think our Wakanda Forever review is the 23rd, I want to say. But I could be wrong. But I believe it's the 23rd. And it should be great. I'm looking forward to it. Cyber and I are both very excited to go see Wakanda Forever tomorrow night. We're both going tomorrow night, same night, which is really cool. That means that he and I will get a chance to get on the phone together on Friday and bullshit, and talk about the movie, which will be great. And hopefully we'll have good things to say, which I'm sure we will. I already, when I went to order my tickets and I saw the seat section area where you pick your seats, I saw all of them mostly were all black. I just assumed that those were black people, right? And Wakandans and shit. And so at that point, I called Regal and asked them if there was a White Devil section that I could get tickets for the movie, right? And I've not gotten back from them yet, because I'm a White Devil. I am. At that point, I've already gone ahead and given my tickets to black people already, gotten it out of the way. And I will make sure that before I go enjoy Wakanda Forever tomorrow, in an act of being down with the cause, right, and all that, and all that good stuff, and being down with Black Lives Matter, I will make sure that I spend several hours using my body to block the entrances of the theaters at the Regal Cinemas in Port Charlotte, Northport, in Florida, so that I can make sure that no random white devils can come in and attack innocent Black people trying to connect with their ancestors in Wakanda. Because, Wakanda is a real thing. It is. It's actually real, apparently. So there you go. So there you go, folks. I've already, I've already tried to do everything I could to be down with the cause. But I'm still going to go and enjoy the movie though, and I hope that doesn't make me a racist. I do, right? Because I love Wakanda and Black Panther. Shit, I even considered getting my first tattoo being Chadwick Boseman. What does that tell you? I mean, hey, how you can be a racist at that point? I have no idea. Unless you're just like want to bang Chadwick Boseman or whatever, and you get the tattoo just to like feel romantically, intimately close to him. I don't know. But no, Cyber. And no, folks, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for all of the wonderful views that we get on our playbacks and whatnot on our shows. We love more comments, so that'd be nice. But I'm not gonna bitch or anything and complain. And yes, it's unfortunate, the whole Facebook situation. We do actually get a lot of traction on Facebook. So hopefully StreamYard will do us a solid here pretty soon and actually decide to fix the issue instead of just playing games over here right now. But thank you to Cybernetic Shark. Hey, thank you to Amazon. Great series so far. Got no complaints. And finale's gonna be dope. And hey, look, we're done with House of the Dragon on Sundays, so folks, look forward to a bunch of Marvel and MCU content coming soon. We're gonna be back. We're diving back deep into our core, baby. The core of the bleeding edge. But thank you, Cyber. Thank you, Dodger, as always, my silent co-host over here in the corner. And besides that, Cyber, I guess shit. I'll see you on Friday night for Andor, baby. Andor episode 3 with Stacy, the host of Some Real Shit podcast.
Hell yeah. So to everyone out there, peace, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, folks.